I need a free guitar, send me now. Well, Ranveer, this is my favorite air guitar. Here you go, it's yours now.
What's up guys, you're watching TUGGtv and it's that time of the month. Wait, no, that came out wrong. What's up guys, you're watching TUGGtv and this is another episode of #AskTuggtv where you ask us questions, be it music related, guitar gear related or well anything at all, and we answer them to the best of our abilities. First time over here, be sure to hit that subscribe button along with the bell icon and give us a thumbs up. Doesn't cost you anything, man. And if you're one of those who have seen this multiple times, thank you dudes for all the support in making this happen, making it a regular as part of our channel. #AskTuggtv happens on every month. So if you've got questions, list them out in the comments. And without further ado, let's get into it. Child in Despair asks, what is my purpose? Well, Child in Despair is my friend Shivam, so I know that like me, he works in IT. But answering this question, if you're someone like us who works in IT, chances are your purpose is to deliver the project on time. Oh, and by the way, Shivam's got his own YouTube channel. You should check it out. I've done a couple of covers as well with him, so be sure to check them out. Give him a subscribe and thumbs up as well.
What are modern pickups like Fishman Fluence? Okay, so coming to the actual Fishman Fluence and the so-called modern pickups, well, it pretty much has to do with the construction of it. Traditionally, guitar pickups are made in such a way that you pretty much have a magnet, a couple of poles, and copper wiring which is going all around them. Now, when a pickup is actually constructed like this, there is every possibility of, say, either human error, material error, or anything of that sort for the guitar to say, well, sound a bit different from each piece. Now, the Fishman Fluence's approach towards making these pickups are, well, updated. Now, the way these are made is that there is going to be layers of copper which is printed over the PCBs, and well, it gets printed over and over and over again. Now, by doing so, not only do you kind of make sure that there's going to be consistency in each of the pickups made, but also you can pretty much ensure the fact that the tone is going to be exactly the same even if you have a million pickups. Now, not only that, but Fishman is actually offering 2 voicings to each of these pickups. Now, what this means is that there's going to be a layer of PCB which actually holds the pickup and, well, another layer which is, well, voiced differently. Now, by using the switch, you can pretty much toggle among these voices and, well, it's like having 2 pickups in one. Now, I hope this is what you actually meant by a modern pickup. Now, if in case you're actually referring to the way pickups are actually made for, well, modern guitars which have a lot of downtuning, these would essentially be pickups which are, well, tailor-made to handle a much more lower frequency and, well, give you a better response of it as well. Now, on the channel, we have a video when we talked about the different types of pickups what are available for electric guitars. If you guys haven't checked it out already, well, here's the link.
How to stay motivated? That's really a nice question and honestly one which is quite difficult and quite subjective because motivation means different things for different people. What has really worked for me is number 1, make sure that the regime is part of your life and it's something that you can do all the time and it doesn't have to become a complete aspect of your life. Like it shouldn't feel like a job. It makes sense to have a good balance between, learning stuff like theory, scales, modes and all of that. And at the same time, you should also do something that you love. So covers is something that really, really works for me, helps me stay motivated because there's always new music you're catching on to, always old songs that you want to revisit. So that way doing a cover definitely helps. Rather than having one, day in the week where you practice 4 hours straight, I'd say have 3, 4, preferably, all 7 days of the week, but do it for 20, 25 minutes. So what happens is you stay in touch with your instrument. So every time you pick it up, you are sort of at a good level. You haven't dropped on your level, so you don't get demotivated so easily. Here's another thing. If you're trying to learn a particular piece, it could be a solo, it could be a riff, it could be a particular exercise. And if it isn't working for you, don't get stuck with one particular thing because, that way it can really play on your mind. Either completely slow it down, take it step by step, or if it's not working, move on, do something else. And then come and revisit this at a later point in time.
Is a bass amp really needed for a bass guitar? Well, Ayush, in simple terms, it's not necessary for you to have a bass amp for a bass guitar. But then if you are using amplifiers which are more focused towards the guitar, like say this Blackstar over here, you might need to consider the fact that the response may not be all that well tuned. and also there's a slight chance that you might end up blowing the speaker. Now the main reason why this happens is that pretty much the circuitry and the speaker is aligned to how a guitar should sound. Since the bass guitar is actually a couple of octaves below it, you might end up in a bit of trouble. Now one of the simpler approaches what you can actually take is to pretty much pick up an amp which is multifunctional. I would have actually pointed out to my Stranger amp if I hadn't sold it already. So when it comes to things, these cheaper amps might actually give you a better response when compared to, well, some of the costlier alternatives. Now with that said, there are a few guitar amps which, well, kind of fare well when it comes to handling the bass frequencies. I personally used a Line 6 Spider 4 a while ago with my bass guitar and, well, it didn't cause any trouble other than the awful tone it had both for the guitar and the bass. So with that, I hope I've answered your questions, and what I'm curious about is to see what the viewers actually use at home. Do you guys use a specific bass amp for your bass playing, or, well, do you use any multifunction amplifiers? Let us know in the comments down below.
It comes down to how you are using your instrument. If you're someone who's, currently like us, you're jamming at home, occasionally practicing, VST could get the job done for you. But if you're someone who is, trying to do this professionally, if you are trying to, play gigs and all of that, which I know in the current scene is not really happening, but if that is your plan, maybe having an amplifier would be a better deal. Whatever you do, how many ever VSTs you have, it is never going to 100% emulate the experience. But then again, we have to be pragmatic about it. If you're someone who's living in, things like an apartment, or if you're someone who has to keep, sound down, I mean, you can buy yourself an amplifier, but then chances are you'll either just end up hooking it up to your computer and using it via headphones, or directly using it on headphones as well.
How to impress someone through death metal? Okay, Kevin, there are two explanations to this. The first one, if you're actually trying to impress a lot of women with your death metal, well, your possibilities are very, very, very narrow. Most of the time, you're gonna pretty much find middle-aged people wearing, like, say, an old school death metal t-shirt with a beard going like, hey, that's a nice t-shirt. Or also, hey, that's pretty old school death metal. Wait, did I just describe myself? So in the off chance that you're actually going to find someone who is into death metal, well, the next portion is for you. To keep it short and simple, well, play old school death metal, not have an overly processed tone, have guttural vocals, and, well, have lyrics about gore, death, violence, and, well, everything else in between.
Death metal or deathcore? Why not both?
In my personal opinion, death metal kind of has the edge over deathcore. Not that there aren't bands which are actually good in deathcore, but, well, it kind of gets monotonous with all the breakdowns and, well, all the 90s grunge punk rock versus 80s hair metal and hard rock. Okay, well, in the two given options, I would pretty much go with the 80s hair metal era. Now, I'm not somebody who actually enjoys the kind of music which was created in that era, but, well, they did have some kick-ass solos. And also, let's face it, we don't need a lot of people wearing plaid t-shirts and, well, going and, well, coming to the hard rock side of things, well, it's always been fun to hear hard rock, isn't it?
I'm not sure if this is, you're asking us versus this, versus that, but I will tell you this. One of them can blow your head off. Okay, that was a bad joke. That took a dark turn. Archie asks, please suggest some modifications for a stock old beginner's guitar. There's a lot you can do. It really comes down to how much you really want to do and how much you can spend on it. Keep in mind, there are certain aspects of an entry-level guitar that cannot change no matter how much you improve it. For example, the tone, or rather the wood, is going to stay the same. Your fretboard is going to stay the same. What you can probably do, and this is all subjected to your budget, consider changing your tuners, because more often than not, the tuners on entry-level guitars are not the best quality, and your guitar doesn't really stay in tune, and you get the snowball effect. So tuners is something you can look at. Bridge, maybe, because sometimes if it's like a fixed bridge and if it's getting the job done, sure. But if you've got some money to spend, go ahead and consider getting a good quality bridge. It definitely worked. I did it on my Jackson JS22-7 and made a world of difference. Another thing you can consider, and this is absolutely if you want to, change the pickups, because the electronics on entry-level guitars most of the time is utter crap. So changing your electronics is something that you can help. You can also do other things like, changing the frets in itself, but I'd say that's a little too much work for an entry-level guitar, but then again, that's just my perspective. So yeah, answering your question, a couple of mods that you can do. tuners, definitely. Electronics, for sure. Bridge can be considered. And I don't know, if you're someone who wants to get into the aesthetic part of it, maybe you can consider doing a paint job. Stickers and all of that are there, but personally, I've noticed the thing with stickers is you might end up outgrowing it, and then it may not appeal to you. But those are options as well you can consider. I mean, stickering your guitar doesn't cost you much. You can just get a couple of good stickers and put it there. Okay, so with that, we come to the end of this episode. Once again, can't thank you guys enough for all those awesome questions that you ask us. If you've got more questions, be sure to hit them in the comment section, or you can put them in our social media handles. We get a lot of them on Instagram, so Instagram is somewhere you can go, and we will ensure to go ahead and air it in either a future episode or the next episode itself if we can. And if it requires more details, we'll ensure that we make another video out of it. So with that, this is TUGGtv signing off. Stay metal, guys, and I will catch you in the next one. Watch some of these other videos in the meantime.